got fans.
Love it. Hi there. Well, what a treat to be with Brett and Nneka on the Inman stage with the entire Inman family here with us. It's great to be with you both. I feel like we have all been talking about the inventory challenge, and also that is all we have been talking about for such a long time. So let's get focused on exactly what we can do about it. So Nneka, you are a top performer, a super high producer in a challenging market in Northern California. So we are certainly interested to hear what is working for you right now in terms of generating inventory.
I really feel like what's been underutilized has been direct mail. It's extremely important to tap into that, whether it's on a farming perspective or just direct mail. You know, I have a buyer campaign that's definitely worked for me, and just ethically, it's important to me that I truly do have a buyer, right? So I think that's important, but keeping it short and sweet, right? This is a letter. This isn't like the mailer with a bunch of houses on it with no call to action, as we've talked about before. And sending that out to my direct neighborhood has really been instrumental in getting them to know who I am, but also just putting the feelers out there and being top of mind for them. So I sent it out to my neighborhood, very short and sweet, and at the bottom made sure that they understood which street I lived on. So again, creating that credibility and making sure that they feel like they can get to know me, so that when they see me out in the neighborhood with my kids or something like that, they know who I am, but they also know what I do. So that's worked for me.
That's great. And so that can sound like a traditional practice, but it is working for you today.
Yeah, it is. I know there's a lot of different ways, I think, to mail. I still do mailers to my SOI. I do an SOI campaign, of course, where I'm putting all the homes that I've sold recently, whether they're in that neighborhood or not, just letting them know that, hey, I am a presence, I do have experience in getting them familiar with me. But it's absolutely worked to switch it up a little bit. So maybe every couple of weeks I'm doing a mailer that's just simple, short and sweet. I do have a buyer. They've been very eager to get into this neighborhood for the schools. And just making sure your presence is known in that neighborhood and following up with them as you see fit.
Thank you.
What's interesting is one of the things that she just touched base on was direct mail campaigns. And in my opinion, direct mail is probably the most underutilized marketing means right now. You know, if you look at the mailboxes that we had 25 years ago, they were full of stuff, and they're not that full anymore.
True.
So I got to commend you on that, simply because I'm that guy that collects all the real estate stuff that comes to me in my neighborhood, and I can say that there's no consistency in it. A lot of people are just mailing things one at a time, and that's never going to work. That's never going to really build any traction if you just do something once. But having that call to action on there.
That's great. So Nneka, let's talk a little bit about you and your growth story, which has been really impressive. You have sold $500 million worth of homes in a short time, a few years, 4 years. You also have an incredible family growth story with 6 children. That in itself is really tremendous and impressive. But you are also growing your social media presence really quickly. And we're always all curious about that. So tell us what is working for you in social to grow that presence in a way that you think will have impact.
Yeah, that's been a fun journey for me. I really just, if I don't feel like posting on social media, if I don't feel like showing the world what I'm doing, that I just don't, right? But when I do feel like it, I really am just posting what my life is and all of that. What I've realized with this industry is we all do this every single day. The average consumer has no idea what it's like to be a realtor, has no idea what we do on a daily, and so I find that they're extremely intrigued by it. So for me on social media, what I'm trying to do more strategically, whereas before, you know, I just post, maybe it's about my kids that day, maybe it's about a recent sale, maybe it's about a story, maybe I'm on my stories at 10 p.m. at night just rambling, right? But all of that is important, I think, just to show your authenticity online. But one of the things that I've gotten compliments on in the past month alone from a couple people that reached out to me, never seen them like my posts, never seen them comment, I'm telling you, people are watching you, and most of the times the ones that are actually going to do business with you are not engaging until they're ready to engage. So what I found was the direct feedback they gave to me was, I saw this reel that you posted, and it was simply me while I was showing a client a home, and they were kind of in another room or something, they didn't care, and I'm videotaping, but I'm talking while I'm videotaping, so you hear my voice, and then when I put it together as a reel, I put little captions of what I notice. Oh, I love that privacy, or I don't love that. Touching on the things that we as realtors see all the time, but they heard my perspective in it, so they got a glimpse of what it would be like to tour with me. They got a glimpse of what I look for in a home. So if I do that also for homes that I'm gonna sell, maybe before I go on market, the things I would do to it, and that has caused a lot more engagement, whereas before I'd get a lot of engagement for the family stuff I'd post. I'd get a lot of engagement for stories and all that, and pretty good engagement for the static kind of real estate posts. But when I kind of merge the two and show my expertise, but in a creative, fun, likable way, I get a ton of engagement, and then those kind of undercover sellers or maybe buyers, they're reaching out to me and touching on, I really like what you focused on in that reel, and that's what my house looks like. Can you come take a look at my house? I was considering a remodel. I was considering this, and then it helps you get into their home to just discuss strategy on what they might do with their home, whether they own one or they're looking to buy. And then I love that, because then I become their wealth advisor, right? Instead of focused on one track, hey, do you want to sell your home now? Okay, then I don't have time for you right now. It's more about becoming their wealth advisor, so that whatever they want to do, I'm the person they call.
We are going to talk a little bit more about that, because you've done a really great job showing people a number of avenues in which they could transact business with you. So I'm going to circle back on that topic. We've had some great conversations backstage. And Nneka, I know you have benefited from great mentoring as well, so I would love to hear you talk about that.
I still have the same mentor going on 6 years now, Brett Jennings. He's the owner of Real Estate Experts, and my firm is a part of that larger brokerage. Basically what you just touched on is exactly, I knew that coming out of tech. I knew when I was talking with him about learning how to do this, because I was doing it part-time at first, and I basically said to him, what you've accomplished in your career, I want to do that in about 3 to 5 years. I've got young kids, I've got bills to pay, I've got things that I want to do, and I don't want it to take me 10, 15, or 20 years. And that, I don't mean that in a negative sense, but for me, I just wanted to get there faster. So in the beginning, and this is how I coach my team, my agents, in the beginning, it was important for me that I didn't focus on that check, and I focused on the experience, because if I get to leverage his experience and then I'm getting my own experience, all it did was build confidence in me to take it the next step.
And you have had some really compelling conversations that I've had with you. I've just been so interested in the way you're doing the same for your customers. So you now have that confidence in your own expertise, and you're taking them through a variety of options for their transaction. And I think that's a really interesting path toward inventory creation, because you are willing to do a number of transactions with a customer and not just one. You're willing to say no, you're willing to try alternatives. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's been an important part of my journey, and I pride myself on that. I've told more of my clients, no, they should not sell, rather than they should. And I truly do mean it when I say that, right? My husband and I, we have rentals. We know what it's like to, okay, let's convert this to a rental, or let's take the chips off the table and let's go move it to something else. So when I'm talking to my clients, I build such tremendous trust with them when they know that I will tell them the exact opposite of what every other listing agent has told them, which is no, don't sell a home. If you can hold it and we can find you a resourceful, creative lender that will allow you to use the rental on this and offset your debt to income to then buy your new home, why don't we do that? What I found though is a lot of times those clients, after they realize what it means to be a landlord, they realize, oh wait, I don't want to be a landlord, right? So then it creates inventory a little bit faster. Then it might take them a year or two to really figure out, what do I want to do? And then they're backed into a corner like you mentioned, and they're forced to sell. What I like to do ahead of time is they might still buy anyway, but as far as creating that inventory, sometimes going through that with them. I have a Palo Alto seller right now that came to me to sell 3 years ago, decided not to sell, and I could have just been like, okay, let's move on. I stayed close with them. I helped talk to them about potentially renting it, all of that. Literally, they called me, it's been 3 years, and they called me about 2 weeks ago and just said, we thought about it, we talked to our financial planner, we really appreciate you staying close with us this whole time, and we're ready to sell. But I stayed close enough to them and kept in touch with them and showed them my value that it's not just about the sale.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your insights. We all found nuggets that we can take home with us, and thanks for sharing your insight with the entire audience. Thank you.